A 92-year-old woman was left banging on a window at Gatwick Airport. Nobody came. She'd been forgotten on an empty aircraft after every other passenger had walked off. BBC security correspondent Frank Gardner, a wheelchair user, has been stranded on empty planes at Heathrow not once, not twice, but multiple times. And in June 2022, a disabled man at Gatwick fell to his death on an escalator after leaving an EasyJet aircraft without assistance, because the staff who were supposed to help him were busy helping his wife. These are not horror stories from some budget airline in a country with no regulations. This is the United Kingdom, one of the most heavily regulated aviation markets on Earth. And the thing that connects every single one of these incidents is this: the passengers had rights, strong, legally protected rights. They just didn't know about them, or the airline staff chose to ignore them. If you're over 60 and you fly from a UK airport, you are sitting on a stack of legal protections that airlines have spent years making sure you never discover. Free wheelchair assistance, even if you can walk. Free seat allocation. Priority boarding before first class. Medical equipment that flies at zero cost. And here's the one that separates UK passengers from Americans. Cash compensation of up to £520 per person when your flight is delayed. That's not a voucher. That's not a goodwill gesture. That is money the airline is legally required to hand you. The Americans don't have that. Not even close. Today, we're going through all 10 of these rights. Not suggestions. The actual laws, the exact phrases you need to say, and the real court cases where passengers won thousands of pounds because they knew the rules and the airline pretended they didn't exist. Save this video. Send it to your mum, your dad, your nan. Because after this, you will never fly the same way again. And before we get started, if you're the kind of person who refuses to get ripped off by a budget airline, do us a favour. Hit subscribe and like. Alright then, let's break down number 10. Free special assistance at every UK airport. You are entitled to a free personal escort through the entire airport, from the car park to your seat on the plane. Most people hear special assistance and picture someone in a wheelchair being pushed by a bored-looking airport worker. That's not what this is. Under UK Regulation 1107/2006, which was originally an EU law and stayed on the books after Brexit, every airport in the country is required to provide you with a dedicated human being who will meet you at the door, walk you through check-in, escort you through security, often through a completely different lane that you didn't know existed, take you to your gate, help you board the aircraft, stow your hand luggage, and get you to your seat. And it doesn't stop when you land. That same service picks you up at the aircraft door, walks you through immigration, gets your bags, and takes you to the exit where your family or your taxi is waiting. This costs you nothing, not a penny. The airport pays for it through a levy charged to every airline, spread across every ticket. You've already paid for it whether you use it or not. 5.5 million people requested this service in 2024. That's nearly 2% of all UK air passengers. And the number is climbing every year because word is getting out. At Heathrow, the service is run by a company called Wilson James. They have over 850 staff across all terminals. Gatwick uses the same company. Manchester and Stansted use ABM Aviation. You don't need to know any of this. You just need to tell your airline when you book. Now here's what trips people up. The government recommends giving 48 hours notice. Airlines like Ryanair will tell you that if you don't give notice, assistance may not be available. That's them managing your expectations, not quoting the law. Manchester Airport's own website says they'll still help you even without advance notice. The 48-hour window is a recommendation, not a legal condition. Show up, ask, and they have to try. And here's the phrase that activates everything. When you book, or when you call the airline, you say, "I'd like to request special assistance under UK Regulation 1107/2006. I need help from arrival through check-in, security, and to my gate. And I need arrival assistance at my destination." That sentence creates a code in their system. It generates a paper trail. And from that moment, they are legally on the hook. But that's just the escort. Wait until you hear who actually qualifies for a wheelchair. Number 9. Free wheelchair assistance. Even if you can walk. You don't need to be disabled to get wheelchair assistance. Being over 60 and tired is enough. This is the one that surprises people. The legal definition of person with reduced mobility in UK aviation law doesn't mean what most people think it means. Article 2 of the regulation defines it as any person whose mobility is reduced due to physical disability, intellectual impairment, age, or any other cause of disability, and whose situation needs appropriate attention. Read that again. Or age. 2 words. That's all it takes. If you're 67 and your knees ache after a long walk, you qualify. If you're 72 and the idea of dragging a suitcase through Terminal 5 at Heathrow makes you want to cancel the trip, you qualify. If you had hip surgery 6 months ago and long corridors still wear you out, you qualify. Around 86% of people who use airport wheelchair assistance can actually walk. They just find the distances exhausting. No doctor's note, no disability badge, no proof of anything. The Civil Aviation Authority does not require documentation. The National Disability Card confirms it on their website. Special assistance is available to anyone who requests it, free of charge, with no proof of disability needed. There are 3 wheelchair codes the airlines use internally, and knowing them helps. WCHR means you can walk short distances but need a wheelchair for the long corridors. That's the most common one for older travellers. WCHS means you can't manage aircraft stairs but can walk to your seat once you're on board. WCHC means you need full assistance, including an aisle chair, to get to your seat. When you book, say this: I'd like to request WCHR wheelchair assistance. I can manage short distances, but I need a wheelchair for the long walks through the airport. That's it. Nobody is going to quiz you. Nobody is going to ask for a medical certificate. And once it's in the system, everything else starts falling into place. Free seating, priority boarding, the lot. Which brings us to number 8. Number 8. Free seat allocation. Stop paying airlines for seat selection. If you have a medical or mobility reason, it's free. Ryanair charges up to 40 quid for a seat. EasyJet charges up to 30. Even British Airways will take your money for picking your spot. The entire budget airline model is built on making you pay for things that used to come with the ticket. And seat selection is one of their biggest earners. But here's what they're not telling you. Under Annex 2 of EC 1107/2006, airlines must make all reasonable efforts to arrange seating that meets the needs of passengers with reduced mobility, and they must do it without additional charge. Article 10 is crystal clear on that. Every major UK airline already complies with this in practice, even if they don't exactly shout about it. British Airways lets you select a seat for free through Manage My Booking once special assistance is registered. Ryanair allocates a suitable seat at no charge when special assistance is booked, +1 for your travel companion. EasyJet marks accessible seats as free when special assistance is selected. Jet2 tells you to call their assisted travel team, who will allocate a seat that meets your needs at no cost. And companion seating is covered too. The regulation requires airlines to make all reasonable efforts to seat your travel companion next to you, free of charge. They don't get a free ticket. They just don't have to pay the seat selection fee. The case that set the tone for all of this was Campbell versus Thomas Cook in 2014. A disabled passenger was denied a seat and proper wheelchair assistance during an evacuation at a Tunisian airport. The Court of Appeal awarded her £7,500. In Ross versus Ryanair in 2004, the airline was found liable for charging £18 each way for wheelchair hire. The court said, no, that's not how this works. Now there's an important caveat. Emergency exit rows, the ones with the most legroom, cannot be allocated to passengers with reduced mobility. That's a genuine safety rule, not an airline trick. Occupants of those seats have to be capable of assisting in an evacuation. But every other seat on the plane is fair game. What to say? I'm a passenger with reduced mobility. Under Annex 2 of UK Regulation 1107/2006, I require an aisle seat near the toilet due to my condition, and my companion must be seated next to me. This must be provided free of charge. One sentence, potentially £40 to £80 saved. Multiply that by every flight you take this year. But speaking of boarding, the next one changes the entire airport experience. Number 7. Priority boarding before everyone. You can board the plane before first class, before business class, before every single person who paid for priority. Picture the gate area. The announcement goes out. Everyone jumps up, bodies pressing forward, cabin bags swinging. That anxious shuffle where you're trying to find your seat while 40 people behind you sigh because you're taking too long to get your jacket off. Now picture walking onto a completely empty, quiet plane. Nobody behind you, nobody in your way. Overhead bins wide open. You sit down, stow your bag, get comfortable, and watch the chaos unfold from the comfort of your seat. That's what pre-boarding gives you, and it's yours by law. The CAA's guidance document, CAP 2990, states that airlines should allow pre-boarding for passengers who need extra time to be settled before other passengers board. British Airways says it directly. You are welcome to board the aircraft ahead of other passengers. EasyJet boards special assistance passengers before all three of their numbered boarding groups, including paid priority. Their own terms say they'll use best endeavours to pre-board you in advance of other passengers. No doctor's note, no proof. You just need to have special assistance registered on your booking or walk up to the gate agent 30 minutes before boarding and say, "I have pre-booked special assistance. I need to pre-board to allow time to get settled." If you haven't pre-booked but you genuinely need extra time, you can still ask at the gate. Polite, calm, straightforward. Gate agents would rather let you on early than deal with a bottleneck in the jet bridge when you're trying to get settled while 200 people queue behind you. One warning though, don't rely on paid priority boarding as a substitute. A passenger with a knee injury who bought EasyJet's speedy boarding but didn't book special assistance reported being queued with everyone else, losing their preferred seat, having their crutches confiscated for the hold, and being separated from their companion. Two completely separate systems. One costs money and delivers uncertainty. The other is free and guaranteed by law. Now this next one puts actual cash back in your pocket every single flight. Number 6. Medical equipment flies free. Your CPAP machine, your walker, your medication cooler, and your wheelchair all fly for free. They don't count toward your baggage allowance, and airlines cannot legally charge you. Under Annex 2 of the regulation, airlines must transport medical equipment and up to 2 pieces of mobility equipment per passenger at no additional cost. The term medical equipment has no quantity limit in the regulation. Only mobility equipment is capped at 2 items. British Airways is the most generous here. They say there are no limits to the weight or number of items of medical equipment you can carry. No limits. Ryanair confirms their 32 kg single-item weight limit does not apply to mobility equipment. EasyJet allows medical equipment up to 10 kilos in a separate bag. CPAP machines, nebulizers, portable oxygen concentrators, medication coolers, walkers, canes, crutches, diabetic supplies, blood pressure monitors, extra batteries. All free, all exempt from your baggage allowance. At check-in, when the agent asks about your bags, don't ask a question. Make a statement. Say, "This is medical equipment required for my condition. Under EC Regulation 1107/2006 Article 10, it must be carried without additional charge and is exempt from standard baggage allowances." If an agent pushes back, and occasionally one will, they are only allowed to visually inspect it. They cannot demand you turn it on. They cannot ask for a prescription. If they ask what it is, you say, "It's a medically necessary assistive device." Now in practice, carrying a doctor's letter does help. EasyJet and Ryanair will sometimes challenge you without one. For controlled drugs, a prescription is legally required. For liquids over 100 millilitres through security, a doctor's letter is mandatory. But for the equipment itself, the law does not require proof. One more thing worth knowing. Over 100 wheelchairs per month are damaged or lost by UK airlines. The CAA's own data from 2025 puts the number at over 1,200 in a single year. Airline liability for damage is currently capped at roughly £1,300 under the Montreal Convention, even though a powered wheelchair can easily cost £10,000 to £25,000. There's a bill going through Parliament right now, the Aviation Accessibility Bill, that would remove that cap entirely. But now we get to the big one. The right that makes UK passengers the envy of every American traveller. And if you're watching this and you've had a delayed flight in the last 6 years, you might want to sit down. Number 5. UK 261. Compensation. Up to £520 per person. When your flight is delayed 3 hours or more, UK law says the airline owes you cold, hard cash. Up to £520 per person, and they cannot force you to accept a voucher instead. This is called UK 261. It's the UK's retained version of EU Regulation 261/2004, and it is the single most valuable right UK air passengers have. Americans have nothing like it, nothing even close. The compensation amounts are fixed by law. £220 per person for short-haul flights under 1,500 kilometres. £350 per person for medium-haul flights between 1,500 and 3,500 kilometres. £520 per person for long-haul flights over 3,500 kilometres. Do the maths. A family of 4 delayed on a long-haul flight can claim £2,080, regardless of what they paid for the tickets. A couple flying Ryanair to Malaga who arrive 3 hours late are owed £440. That's probably more than the flight's cost. Compensation kicks in when you arrive 3 or more hours late at your destination, measured from when the aircraft doors open, not when it lands. It also applies when a flight is cancelled with less than 14 days' notice, and when you're involuntarily denied boarding due to overbooking. Payment must be in cash, by bank transfer, by cheque. Airlines cannot insist you take vouchers. Now here's where it gets interesting. Airlines will throw every excuse in the book at you to avoid paying. Their favourite is extraordinary circumstances, which is legal language for events genuinely beyond the airline's control. Bad weather, air traffic control strikes, security threats. Those do exempt them. But 3 massive UK court cases have blown holes in that defence. In Hussar versus Jet2, decided in 2014, the Court of Appeal ruled that technical faults are not extraordinary circumstances. Planes break. That's part of running an airline. That single ruling unlocked an estimated £876 million in claims. In Dawson versus Thomson Airways, also 2014, the Court of Appeal ruled that the time limit to claim is 6 years in England and Wales under the Limitation Act. Not 2 years, 6. That decision opened up roughly £3.89 billion in historic claims. And in Lipton versus B.A. Cityflyer in 2024, the Supreme Court ruled that crew sickness, including COVID-related illness, is not an extraordinary circumstance. The judges said staff illness is an inherent part of the airline's activity. So technical faults, crew sickness, staff shortages, IT failures, airline staff strikes, none of these get the airline off the hook. Here's your exact process. Step 1. Write to the airline. Most have online claim forms. Include your flight number, the date, how late you arrived, and say, I am claiming compensation under UK Regulation EC, number 261/2004 as retained in UK law. Under Article 7, I am entitled to. And then state the amount. Give them 8 weeks. Step 2. If they refuse or ignore you, escalate to an ADR scheme. That stands for Alternative Dispute Resolution. British Airways uses CEDR. Ryanair, EasyJet, TUI, Virgin Atlantic, and Wizz Air use Aviation ADR. ADR is free for passengers and the decisions are binding on the airline. Step 3. If ADR doesn't work, file in small claims court through Money Claims Online. Filing fees start at £35 and you get them back if you win. No solicitor needed. The law firm Bott & Co., which brought the Hussar and Dawson cases, has recovered over £85 million from airlines. ADR schemes alone awarded £11.2 million in the last financial year. British Airways paid £6.2 million through ADR with an 83% uphold rate. Airlines reject over 70% of individual claims, hoping you'll give up. Don't give up. Now, if you like that one, wait until you hear what happens when they bump you off a flight you've already paid for. Number 4. Denied boarding compensation. If you're bumped from an overbooked flight, compensation is automatic. The airline cannot use any excuses. Same compensation amounts as delays: £220, £350, or £520, depending on distance. But with denied boarding, there's no extraordinary circumstances defence. If they sold more seats than the plane has and your name drew the short straw, they pay. Full stop. On top of the cash, you get your choice of a full refund or rebooking on the next available flight, meals and drinks, 2 free phone calls or emails, and hotel accommodation with transport if it's overnight. Airlines have to ask for volunteers first. If they offer you something to give up your seat, you're negotiating. That's fine. But if nobody volunteers and they force you off, that's involuntary denied boarding, and the statutory compensation is yours automatically. Never volunteer unless the offer genuinely exceeds what the law already guarantees you. Disabled and elderly passengers have near absolute protection here. Under Articles 3 and 4 of the regulation, airlines cannot refuse a reservation or deny boarding because of disability or reduced mobility. The only exceptions are where the aircraft physically can't accommodate the person or where a genuine safety requirement prevents it. If they refuse you, they must give written reasons within 5 working days. This brings us to the rights nobody thinks about until everything falls apart. Number 3. Your rights during delays. During delays, the airline owes you food, drinks, phone calls, and a hotel. Whatever the cause. These are called care obligations, and they apply even when the airline successfully argues extraordinary circumstances to dodge the compensation payment. Even if it's a storm, even if air traffic control is on strike, they still have to feed you. After 2 hours for short-haul flights, 3 hours for medium-haul, or 4 hours for long-haul, the airline must provide meals and refreshments in reasonable relation to the waiting time. At any delay length, they owe you 2 free phone calls, texts, or emails. And for overnight delays, they must provide hotel accommodation plus transport to and from the hotel. If the delay stretches past 5 hours, you can walk away entirely. Full refund within 7 days, including for any return legs you haven't used. One thing UK passengers don't have, and this is worth knowing: there is no tarmac delay rule. In America, domestic flights can't keep you trapped on the runway for more than 3 hours. The UK has no equivalent law. EASA guidelines suggest that confining passengers beyond 3 hours without offering to deplane may be considered unreasonable, but it's guidance, not enforceable law. If the airline doesn't provide food or a hotel, you can arrange it yourself and claim the cost back. Keep every receipt. Spend reasonably. Don't book the Ritz and don't order champagne. But a proper meal and a clean room are well within your rights. But what happens when you do everything right, use the right words, cite the right law, and the airline employee still says no? That's where it gets nuclear. Number 2. The complaint escalation that airlines fear. There are magic words that force airlines to respond, and a complaint process that goes on their permanent record. The UK doesn't have America's CRO system, where you can demand a complaint resolution official at the gate. What the UK has is arguably more powerful: a structured escalation system where an independent body can force the airline to pay, and a court system where passengers regularly win without solicitors. Step 1. Write to the airline. In your letter or email, use these exact phrases: I am claiming under UK Regulation EC number 261/2004 as retained in UK law. Include: I request compensation of and the specific amount. Add: if this is not resolved within 14 days, I will escalate to the ADR scheme and the Civil Aviation Authority. And finish with: I reserve the right to issue proceedings in the county court without further notice. That combination of sentences tells the airline you know exactly what you're doing. It tells them you know the law, you know the timeline, and you know where to go if they stonewall you. Step 2. If they refuse or go silent after 8 weeks, escalate to ADR. Aviation ADR handles most UK airlines. CEDR handles British Airways. These are free for passengers. The airline is legally required to participate, and the decision is binding on them, not on you. If the ADR rules against you, you can still go to court. If it rules against the airline, they have to pay. Step 3. The CAA's own team, called PACT, can review your complaint. They're advisory rather than binding, but airlines pay attention because the CAA is their regulator. Step 4. Small claims court through Money Claims online. Filing costs as little as £35. You get that back if you win. No solicitor needed. Airlines settle before trial more often than not because the legal costs of sending someone to court outweigh the claim. For disability discrimination specifically, the Equality Act 2010 adds another weapon. Injury to feelings compensation follows the Vento bans, from roughly £1,300 for less serious cases up to nearly £63,000 for the worst. If an airline discriminates against you at check-in, at the gate, or in the terminal, this applies. The Ross versus Ryanair case established that. The Thomas Cook case resulted in a £7,500 award. Here's your phrase for discrimination complaints. Your actions constitute disability discrimination contrary to Part 3 of the Equality Act 2010. I reserve the right to claim injury to feelings. That sentence, in writing, from someone who clearly understands the law, will get you a phone call from someone senior within the airline. Guaranteed. Which brings us to the final right. And this one isn't about money, it's about dignity. Number 1. The sunflower lanyard and the system they don't advertise. There is a free, silent signal you can wear at any UK airport that tells every single member of staff you need extra patience, extra time, and extra care. No explanation required. It's called the Sunflower Lanyard. Green background, sunflower pattern. Launched at Gatwick in 2016 and now recognised at every major UK airport and over 327 airports in 70 countries worldwide. You pick one up for free at any airport assistance desk. No proof of disability, no forms. You put it on, and every trained member of staff knows immediately that you have a hidden disability, whether that's anxiety, dementia, autism, chronic pain, a heart condition, or anything else that isn't visible, but affects how you experience the chaos of an airport. Staff who recognise it, and they're trained to, will proactively offer help. They'll give you more time. They'll speak more clearly. They'll check in on you. It won't automatically get you fast-track security, but it signals that extra patience is needed, and, in practice, many staff will quietly make accommodations. Heathrow also offers free sensory packs and autism familiarisation tours. Manchester has a dedicated sunflower lounge area. This isn't a legal right in the same way as the compensation rules, it's an industry initiative. But for someone who finds airports overwhelming, confusing, or frightening, wearing that lanyard can transform the experience from an ordeal into something manageable. And for the families of people with dementia who still want to travel, who still deserve to travel, this is the closest thing to a companion pass the UK offers. Because unlike America, UK airports do not issue gate passes for non-passengers. Your family member cannot accompany you through security without a boarding pass. The Sunflower Lanyard, combined with pre-booked special assistance, is the alternative. So there it is, 10 rights, every single one of them backed by UK law, EU retained regulation, or both. Free assistance from car park to aircraft seat. Wheelchair help, even if you can walk perfectly well on a good day. Seat allocation without paying Ryanair's £40 ransom. Priority boarding before the lot of them. Medical equipment flying free without counting toward your baggage. Up to £520 per person in delay compensation, with a 6-year claim window. Automatic compensation when they bump you, food, hotels, and phone calls during disruption. A complaint process with actual teeth, and a free lanyard that tells every airport worker you need a bit of extra care. The airlines have built a multi-billion-pound business on the assumption that you will never look any of this up, that you'll be too polite, too confused by the crowds, or too exhausted to claim what's already yours. Prove them wrong. And I want to hear from you. Have you ever been denied any of these rights at a UK airport? Or have you used them successfully? Drop it in the comments. Your story might be the one that helps someone else fly with the dignity they deserve. If this video opened your eyes, smash that like button so we can get this information in front of more people who need it. Subscribe if you haven't already. Safe travels. And remember, they're not doing you a favour. They're following the law.